Hi guys, my name is Laura and I am doing my school reform project on formative assessments. For this project, I am using Google Slides and Screencast-O-Matic. So first things first, why Screencast-O-Matic? For starters, it's free. Anyone can access it, and there's no account required, which means you don't have to memorize a password, which I don't know about the rest of you, but I really appreciate that this day and age. It's pretty user friendly. It doesn't take long to figure out. You can toy around with it and see what you like, see what you don't like. You can make short videos, delete them, and start up again real quick. And you can adjust the size of the screen that you want to your video to capture, so that's really nice too. Another feature I like about it is that it has a 15-minute cap on your recording, so it's a good reminder to keep your instruction short so you don't lose their attention. It also generates a YouTube link if you want to make a channel to keep all of your videos and organize them that way. Okay, so in order to understand the reform of formative assessment, you have to first understand the difference between formative assessments and summative assessments. So the goal of formative assessments is to monitor student learning to provide ongoing feedback that can be used by teachers to improve their learning and by students to improve their learning. So it's twofold there. And the goal of summative assessment is to evaluate student learning at the end of an instructional unit by comparing it to a standard or a benchmark. The purpose of a formative assessment is to help students identify their strengths and their weaknesses. It will help students recognize what they need to work on, which I think really supports standards-based grading, that other important school reform that we've learned about. It helps teachers recognize what students are struggling with, which can help inform their feedback to students and parents. And it helps teachers address the areas of concern and make adjustments to how they teach in the future. Formative assessments are low stakes, so that means that they should have very little or no point value and have little bearing on the evaluation of the student's overall performance in a class. So if I was teaching two-step equations, a formative assessment would be a way for me to see how students are learning this, what part of it do they understand, do they not understand, and it might be a short little assignment, even a homework assignment that doesn't go towards their overall grade in the class. Some more examples would include an exit slip or an entrance slip that you could ask students about what they learned the day before, a quick check on Google Forms, or a variety of games that are available to teachers and students now. Summative tests or some summative assessments, excuse me, are high stakes. This means they have a high point value and are important to the overall evaluation of a student's performance in a class. So these would be big assignments like midterms, unit tests, final projects, end of a semester performance. So things that are really important overall. I found this infographic on formative and summative assessments. I liked the way this was put together. It's a good reminder of the goals and how we use both types of assessments. Formative assessments are important at every level and they look different at every level. So I teach 8th grade pre-algebra and algebra 1. So I uh, wanted to come up with a list of formative assessments that would be practical to use in a middle school setting. So a Post-it or a Padlet is the technological way of using a Post-it, but you could ask students to solve one problem, pass out Post-its, and then have them put them all on the board so you could see how they all did at one time. They wouldn't have to put their name on it. It would be a quick little check for you to see what they are understanding. You could ask a question and have students go agree and say yes, no, or maybe so if they're unsure and stand in different parts of the room. You could have students summarize their learning on a Twitter board. You could do standard base grade yourself where you give them an example of a standard base grading rubric, have them walk through one of their own um, projects, or not projects, but a quiz or a quick little check, and have them grade themselves. You could do a three-time summarization. So this one I thought was really cool, and I don't know if it would be good in math, but students could um, summarize their learning in 10 to 15 words, 40 to 50 words, and then a paragraph. So leveled learning and leveled representation of what they've learned. In math, it's important to use error analysis, so that would be another formative assessment. Google Forms, you could do a whiteboard review. This is one that kids really love before a test or a quiz. Kahoots, Quizlet Lives, those are also favorite things in my students love. A Frayer model that shows what a definition of something is, what it isn't, an example and a not example. And a real quick one that's easy, that would be easy at an elementary level, would be a FIST to 5, where students identify how comfortable they feel with a new concept. This is an example of Kahoot, and this is um, a question. I guess this would have come from like an elementary English lesson, but Kahoot has you put in multiple choice, and you can see how many students picked the correct answer, how many students picked the wrong answer. So it gives you a quick snapshot of what your class was capable of and what was commonly missed and what they understood and performed well on. I'm going to take you to a link of a Google form. So Google Forms are a great way to summarize feedback. Let's see. So this is a check-in that my PLC uses. Students will enter their name. They tell us what time, so basically what class period they have. And then we have multiple choice answers. And they take the little short quiz, and we generally keep these 5 or less questions. And then when they're done, we can organize their responses and look at the feedback that way. So we can see this is 6 students got a 1 out of 5 on this one. The majority of the students got a 3 out of 5. And then we can go down and look at individual responses. So this feedback shows exactly how many students missed it, and it displays that information nicely. And it's a nice way to pull up that data and share it with your students. They would also receive this feedback individually once they answer the questions, but showing them as a class, hey, a lot of people missed this question. Let's talk about this question right now. Um, so I really like that feature of Google Forms. Here's another infographic of some online activities you can do with students. My students also love Quizlet Live. It doesn't give the same kind of individual question feedback that Kahoot does, but Quizlet Live is collaborative, where Kahoot, my students play that individually. Whoops. So Quizzes is another resource that I like to use. Students can do homework on that, and there's a lot of ways to assign that and customize what you want from it. Same with Quizalize. So to implement this fidelity is to make formative assessments work for you and your students. Students really need to understand why we do formative assessments. They need to understand that the emphasis is on teacher and student learning. A question I'm sure a lot of you get in the middle and upper grades is this for a grade? And that's one of my biggest pet peeves. So I would like to, uh, for this to be implemented successfully, I'd like to really explain to students why we do formative assessments. Parents would need to understand that as well, and it helps connect to standards-based grading. Um, to do this, you have to practice, practice, practice. So use a variety of formative assessment styles that will make class fun and exciting. Give feedback, get them used to demonstrating their learning without seeing that on a report card. Utilize a variety of options and technology. Again, that'll keep your class exciting. I attached a link to Rick Wormelli and his a little tidbit on formative and summative assessments. What do teachers do after a formative assessment? They differentiate, they revisit, they reteach, and they collaborate with the students and with other teachers and say, hey, my kids struggled with this. How'd your kids do? Is there something I could do to make this better for them? You can strategically group students with peers. So this can be done in a variety of ways. You can put kids all on the same level in one group. You can group them high, medium, and low to have them have uh, like peer instructors. So it doesn't always have to be the same every time. And most importantly, it allows you to make adjustments to future lessons, both near and present future and far in the future. It also helps you adjust your summative assessments. Here's another infographic of the formative assessment cycle. The results of using formative assessment are that informed teachers can give specific feedback to both students and their parents. Students are more engaged in their learning process and they become aware of what they know, what they are working on, what they ultimately are going to need to learn. It contributes to a growth mindset. I don't know this yet, but I'm working on it. It helps teachers make adjustments to lessons, prepare students for summatives, and it helps identify student strength and weakness. My personal response to formative assessments are that they're easy to implement. They can be short, they don't have to take a lot of your class time, and they help you make informed decisions. Um, they help if you need to um, talk to a parent, talk to the team, talk to SPED coordinators, and case managers about how students are doing without those assessments affecting their overall class score. So, and lastly, I think it makes your class more exciting and keeps the learning fun. These are my sources. Thank you for watching and listening, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your summer.